Hello and welcome to Just Jets episode number 191. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary, going to be hanging out with you today for another lovely episode of this program that I love so dearly to record. I am excited to get into my grades for the New York Jets as we head into the bye week. We'll go by position and player. You'll see. You will see as we go along here. And we have your voicemails, but we have big news, gentlemen, across the nation. I have an urgent message for you. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. The brand that took your balls to space is now launching them into the Ultra Sphere, introducing the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, featuring a new cutting-edge design and next-generation dual skin-safe blade heads for different shaves. It's pretty much a spaceship to take your boys downstairs to the next level. Join the now 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, including yours truly, with the brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with my code JETS20. We were here for the 3.0, the 4.0, and now the 5.0. We've been working with Manscaped for a really long time. They are a big supporter of me and the program, so please, if you could support them, it would mean the most to me. I just got my Lawnmower 5.0, and I love it. My boys have not looked better. I am excited to get it, and you should be too. So make sure to pick it up over at manscaped.com. Promo code JETS20. Okay, let's hop into the episode. I am excited to get into some grades, and this one is courtesy of friend of the program, NYJ Matt. If you're not on Twitter or X, there's more content over there for not only my coverage if you want to see that, but there's a ton of great follows, and one of my favorite follows is NYJ Matt. Really funny guy. He does a program with his buddy NYJ Mike, a Broadway Jets on YouTube, so if you want to check it out. But really good Twitter account, and he tweeted out how you would grade these players. So these are not his grades, but his template, and I wanted to go through mine on the show today. We'll look at Zach Wilson, Salah, Hackett, Ulbrich, offensive line, wide receivers and tight ends are grouped together, D-line, linebackers, secondary, and special teams. So we have a few different categories that we're going to get into, and really the reason why I think now's a good time to reflect on a grade is because you're at the bye week. And they exceeded expectations at the bye week for where they were 4 plays into their season. Once Aaron Rodgers goes down and Zach Wilson is forced to come in, you're like, oh boy, here we go. Let's see how this one's going to go. And they find themselves at 3-3 at the bye. A lot of people would have signed up for 3-3, myself included, with Aaron Rodgers. This was a very, very challenging first 6 games of the season. You had Buffalo in your own building, and you had to go on the road to Dallas. You played the Eagles and the Chiefs, the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl already. You had to go to Denver, and you played New England. And unfortunately, the New England one is a game you feel like you should have got, right? It feels like one that you should have had. But even still, 3-3 at the bye, I would have signed up for that with Aaron Rodgers because of how the second half of the season eases up. And I think even with Zach Wilson, they still have a chance to do some real damage here in the second half and finally end that playoff drought. It's been since the 2010 season that the New York Jets have not made the playoffs. So I am very much so rooting really, really hard for this Jets football team, as I'm sure all of you are. And let's, without further ado, get into my grades for where the Jets are so far in their season. It's 6 weeks through the year, still another 11 games to go, but we start with the quarterback in Zach Wilson. And now Zach Wilson was not supposed to play this year. Really, the feel was for him to be the backup, sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years and hopefully have a reset. And that reset lasted all but 4 plays. And he got thrown into the fire, and all things considered, I think he's been okay. I'm going to give Zach Wilson a C+. I think you could convince me to go as high as a B-, but I'm not going to go lower than a C+ because I think that's about an average performance, and he's performed like a backup should. And, there were some really good moments where he exceeded that C+ grade. For instance, the Kansas City Chiefs game. I thought that was the best game of his career. And there were games where he looked like the F version of Zach Wilson, which was against the New England Patriots. But the last 3 games or so, pretty much since the Kansas City Chiefs games, he looked like, early career Mark Sanchez, which the Jets rode early career Mark Sanchez to a 9-win season and an 11-win season and back-to-back trips to the AFC Championship game with a really, really strong defense and run game. So now you are, however many 13 years later, and here you go. You are back with a young quarterback who they are trying to just have manage the game. They don't want him to lose them the game. And to his credit, he hasn't done that the last 3 weeks. I think he's played good football. He's played pretty good football to his standards anyway, or to a backup quarterback standard. And that is enough right now where they are at 3-3. And there's room for improvement, which is why I put it at a C+. And I'm hoping in the second half he works his way up, into the Bs or even higher than that. But I think red zone efficiency is something that the whole team needs to get better at. I'll get into that a little bit more even with Nathaniel Hackett, but he is a part of the problem at the quarterback position. It's the most important position on the offense and in the sport. So, he does play a factor in those red zone struggles. He does play a factor, in the offense, seemingly only being able to score a touchdown a game. So there are good things with Zach. For instance, he's taken a tangible step forward from where he was last year, which he looked unplayable at the second half of last year. And there was a moment this year where he looked unplayable again against New England. But to his credit, he has not looked like that in the last 3 weeks. So the Jets are confident in him. I hope that he continues to improve out of the bye and works up from that grade. But pretty solid from Zach Wilson so far. So he gets a C+ grade. Robert Saleh is up next. I am going to give Robert Saleh an A-. I think he deserves a very, very, very good grade for this New York Jets football team. The reason why it's that high is because of the hand that he was dealt. For what was supposed to be a team with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, and you have championship aspirations and the whole nine, right? Like there's really, really high expectations. The adversity that he has faced and that this team has overcome, I think, is what really impresses me the most. So they lose Aaron Rodgers in the first game of the year. Emotions were high that game, and they find a way to squeak out a win at home in week 1 against the Buffalo Bills, who are a Super Bowl contender. Then in week 6, right before your bye week, you have an opportunity where you are down multiple starters in your secondary. You have guys who are, with all due respect to them, because they played pretty well in this game, but they are practice squad level guys, came in and helped shut down an offense that was in the Super Bowl last year in the Philadelphia Eagles. And they beat the Philadelphia Eagles, an unbeaten team, a team that they've never beaten before in their team's history. And that is why I think you sign up for 3-3. As I said, you were hoping for a 3-3 start, 4-2, maybe best case scenario for the New York Jets out of the gate with Aaron Rodgers. And to do it without Aaron and without Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed for a game and still be able to find a way to beat a team like the Bills and beat a team like the Eagles, that's damn impressive. And to go toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs, I think what knocks it down from an A to an A- for me are two things. One, slow starts, which as the head coach, that is going to fall on his shoulders for better or for worse. And number two, I think some of the things he's done in the press conferences bother me. Not a ton where I'm going to go absolutely nuclear on the guy. I think that is completely unfair. As I did a video earlier this week, and I've mentioned on Twitter multiple times, I think Jet fans need to give Robert Saleh more credit for where this team is. And I think fans are too hard on Robert Saleh more often than not. But I think he has done very, very well so far with an A- grade. I think that is worthwhile for him. Nathaniel Hackett is up next. I'm going to give Hackett a C+. I think that the red zone issues are definitely a problem. That is one of the reasons why it's a lower grade. He was also put in a tough spot, having to go from Aaron Rodgers to Zach Wilson. I think personnel could get better, but has improved over the last few weeks. They've done a better job phasing Dalvin Cook out and leaning more on Breece Hall, which is something that a lot of people wanted to see. I wanted to see it that way as well. They're getting Xavier Gipson the ball more. They are using play action a little bit more now. They're being more aggressive with Zach Wilson. We saw it in the Kansas City game. We saw it in the Philadelphia game. They were aggressive on first down. They were utilizing the play action and the passing attack on first down. There's been times where I think he's gone too conservative. For instance, the Denver game, I understand how well the run was working. They ran Breece Hall 22 times, and he went for 177 yards and a touchdown. Like, completely understand why he was fed the football, and I'm not complaining about Breece getting those touches, but in the red zone specifically, where this team has struggled, and when you get down to that point and you're in second and goal from like the 9-yard line, that's a time to me where you gotta throw. They talk about where, they got to put themselves in better situations on third down. He's one of the reasons why they aren't in better situations on third down. But I think he's been okay. There's been some nice moments. There's been some not so nice moments. He's been okay. Jeff Ulbrich gets a full A. I don't know how you could say otherwise for Jeff Ulbrich. I guess if you want to say why isn't an A+, maybe you put some of the defensive slow starts on his unit, but he is primed to get a head coaching job. At some point very soon, Jeff Ulbrich is going to be a head coach. You look at coordinators who I think are going to be big names for potential hires. Obviously, the offensive coordinator up in Detroit is going to be one. Schwartz's defense in Cleveland is going to be another one. And I think Ulbrich and his defense here is a third guy who's going to be in the mix. He is... again, this team really since week 4 last season in 2022, it began to click. And it doesn't seem to matter that, the secondary was banged up. They still played a stellar game. They're getting home with the pass rush. The linebackers have played well, and more on those individual positional groups and those individual guys as we go. But my goodness, what a job Jeff Ulbrich has done. And the funny thing was, when Robert Saleh was hired and he brought in Mike LaFleur to be his offensive coordinator and Jeff Ulbrich to be his defensive coordinator, the story was that LaFleur was such a good offensive mind that maybe it would be a bad thing for a young quarterback, because if he comes in and plays well, and that was the expectation with Zach Wilson, many thought he would come in and play well right away, that he would get hired too early in his career, and that would then hurt your young quarterback, which... I said at the time, if that happens, talk about champagne problems where you found your young quarterback and your offense is doing well, because if you're hiring an offensive coordinator to be a head coach, that means it's one of the league's best offenses, which is something we're not used to with the Jets. And obviously we know how things went, and Mike LaFleur gets fired after 2 years, but it ended up being Ulbrich, who is the one who will probably receive head coaching consideration very, very soon. I think Ulbrich has done a really, really, really good job with this defense, and I love it. And Saleh deserves a ton of credit for it, but so does Ulbrich. He gets an A. Let's go positional groups now. We did Zach Wilson, but we'll do other positional groups. Offensive line, I'm going to give a C+. I think the bad was the beginning with like Dwayne Brown struggles in the first 2 weeks. Laken Tomlinson struggles in the first few weeks, although the last 3 or 4 games of Laken Tomlinson have been very good. Joe Tippmann's coming, and we're still waiting on the injury update there, and done a really nice job. AVT was doing well, but they've held together pretty okay since, the injuries and the shuffling around. There's been a lot of iterations of this offensive line already, and they've been shuffled around a lot, probably more than we would have liked through the first 6 weeks, but the emergence of Mekhi Becton coming back and, stabilizing at left tackle. Connor McGovern's kind of been a little below average this year. But overall, I would say not a great offensive line. It's definitely not as bad as how some people make it out to be. I see comments, whether it's on YouTube, but a lot of it really on like Instagram and TikTok and videos. It's like, it doesn't matter who you put at quarterback, or it doesn't matter this or that because of just how bad the offensive line is, which if you wanted to maybe make that argument the first 2 weeks of the year, okay, I'd hear you out on it, but I do think the offensive line has played significantly better over the last 4 games. So I don't think that's a fair argument to talk about this offensive line. Again, I don't think they are a stellar offensive line. They have a long way to go, but this is not a bottom 3 unit in football. It's not. You try to watch the New York Giants play offense and tell me that you should throw the Jets in the same boat of, this offensive line is way holding them back. It's not. They are holding up fine. Are they a great unit? No. Are they a horrific unit? Also, no. They're okay. They're about average. So the C+ grade is about average. So I think that's where the offensive line falls in. Want to give some more credit to Mekhi Becton, who had a tough day with the pressures numbers with dealing with some of the speedy edge rushers, but also had his fair share of the pancake blocks, the block and point at Barnett. He's been good, and for the most part, outside of a handful of plays in Denver, he stayed on the field, and they very much so need that to continue for him. I love Mekhi Becton. I am very happy to see him come back and play well. This is good for him and for the New York Jets going forward. Let's take a look at the wide receivers and tight ends. I'm going to go with a B, and I think Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin, and a little bit Jeremy Ruckert are carrying this group. And some of Lazard, although Lazard didn't have a good game, honestly, against the Eagles. The penalty was bogus, but he had a drop right after that, which is not good. So it was a big drive killer there. But Garrett Wilson, as good as advertised, a special player. I absolutely love what we've seen from him. Really, really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. They could use some more, though, because right now I like Lazard. I don't know if he is the best number 2 option. They could have used a Corey Davis, who unfortunately, retired on the eve of the season, and that really, really hurt this team. Really, really hurt this team. So it's tough. That's a real tough one. I don't love the wide receiver room outside of the top. Randall Cobb's really struggled. Xavier Gibson's coming along. I think there's room for improvement there. The usage, so maybe this isn't necessarily fair, but like CJ Uzomah's kind of struggled this year, and he got used more early on. So I don't think that it would be crazy to say that it's a B. I can't go higher than a B. I could be convinced on a little bit lower, but I think it's above average because of the production that they get from Garrett, and because of Tyler Conklin and Jeremy Ruckert coming on a little bit here. Running backs wasn't initially included on this list, but I'm adding running back in, and I'm going to give the running back room a B+. And that is another unit that is carried heavily by Breece Hall. Breece Hall has been absolutely stellar for this football team. Like I talked about Garrett as a special player, Breece Hall is in that same boat, man. Anytime he touches the football, you're just on the edge of your seat. Really good stuff from Breece, but unfortunately, this can't be an A because of how ineffective both Dalvin Cook and Michael Carter have been. Both those guys really are weighing it down. I'd like to see Izzy Abanikanda maybe outside of the bye. Like this could be your opportunity to ramp up both Xavier Gibson and maybe Izzy Abanikanda to get them in more. And maybe you think about activating a Jason Brownlee or something like that, to try to help out in the red zone as a big target. But B+ for the running backs. Again, Breece is as good as advertised. Special player. Loved what we saw from Breece Hall. Dalvin Cook has looked slightly better the last 2 games or so, but not enough to the point where it's a net positive. And Michael Carter has really struggled the last few weeks. Had a false start penalty and a drop in this game, and had a huge drop in the Chiefs game. So kind of frustrating stuff there. Knocks it down from what probably, if a running back room has Breece Hall, should be grading out to an A, but is dropping down to a B+ because of the other 2 guys in the room. Defensive line, A. They are really good. Bryce Huff, fine. This is a guy we've talked about for a long time about how often and how efficient he is at getting after the quarterback and pressuring the quarterback. And it's so bizarre, the pushback that I have gotten on. We're trying to get Bryce Huff on the field more. And it was when Bryce Huff is getting like 20 to 30% of the snaps. I was like, this guy's got to be a part of the rotation heavier, like closer to the 50%, 40 to 55%, right? Because unless you're Quinnen Williams, no one's really getting more than that 55%. But I thought he was someone that needed to be on the field more. And they're still fighting with people who are like, no, like the reason why he's efficient is because of the limited snaps and it's the rotation. Like he shouldn't get more snaps. And the last 3 weeks, his snap count has gone up incrementally. And this past week, he was right around 50%. And he went from 7 pressures to 8 pressures to 9 pressures, 24 pressures, and 2.5 sacks in 3 weeks. He's been really, really good. Really, really good. A special, special talent. Quinnen Williams is just as good. The sack numbers are not there yet. I think they will start to come a little bit more, but he is pressuring the quarterback at a very, very high clip. And those pressures lead to turnovers, which is something the Jets have been much, much better at this year. So he's probably not getting 12.5 sacks, but is still the same effective player. JFM is still somehow underrated by the NFL and by this fan base at times. Really, really solid guy. Carl Lawson's been a downer, but they've gotten, JJ's coming along now. Quentin Jefferson's proven to be a great signing. Al Woods has been better even since he's been activated again the last 2 weeks. Deep unit. Really the only thing that's the bummer is, I would say, Carl Lawson. Michael Clemens has kind of not been great. And Will McDonald, they got to get going a little bit. And, to be fair, Jermaine Johnson didn't show a ton last year. His biggest moment was that game against the Buffalo Bills. And he has started to come on pretty nicely midway through his second season. So by no means is it time to bail on any rookie prospect. I think that would be silly. But it would be nice if we could see some more flashes from him in the second half of the year. But overall, A. Linebackers, A+. A+. The CJ Mosley and Quincy Williams duo is stellar. CJ Mosley, it's obvious that he's lost a step at this point, but he is always around the football. He is a great leader, and he is so smart that even with his abilities, I don't want to say diminishing because that's too harsh of a word, but slowing, right? Like he's past 30 now. He's on the wrong side of 30, so like he's beginning to slow down, which that happens in the NFL. It's father time gets everybody, but the reason why he is still an effective linebacker, a very, very good linebacker, is because of how smart of a football player he is. And Quincy Williams, man, unbelievable. He's an all-pro. He's playing like an all-pro right now. He should be an all-pro if this continues the rest of the way. It's no secret. I was been hard on him the last 2 years with whether it be missed tackles or his coverage, but those things have gone away. He's gotten significantly better in coverage. Missed tackle numbers are way down, and he somehow has gotten even faster. And the splashier plays are there. There's not as much variance anymore. That was my biggest thing with Quincy, was the variance. The highs were really high, but the lows were really lows. The lows cut, and we're getting much higher highs and much more consistency. Really, really good find. I'm so happy that Quincy Williams is developing the way that he is. He is a special linebacker. Secondary, I'm going to give a B+. I think the cornerback trio is very, very good. Sauce Gardner, I think the sophomore slump stuff from earlier in the year was way overblown. He really only had one poor game against Buffalo Bills in week 1. And I thought that outside of the dropped pick, which dropping a pick is bad, against Dallas, he was good in coverage in that game and has been good the rest of the way. DJ Reed, unsung hero again on this defense. Michael Carter II, one of the best slot corners in the game. That's a really good trio. And Bryce Hall stepped up, played well the last 2 weeks. Craig James, we know the whole story there. The safeties, I think, bring this down a touch. And in 2 of the 3 wins, safeties came up with big plays. Jordan Whitehead had the 3 picks in week 1, which was awesome. I love that. Tony Adams had the big pick in this game the last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. They need to hit a level of consistency, because if there's one critique of this defense, they, at the safety spot, miss a lot of tackles. Since that performance in week 1 from Jordan Whitehead, the 3 interceptions, he's struggled. He's reverted back to something that's really plagued him a lot in his career. And his missed tackles he's missed over 20% of his tackles on the season. That's a really, really high clip. Really high clip. And it happened again in this game against the Philadelphia Eagles. He tried to come down and make a big hit at the goal line, kind of whiffed on it. It was him and Quincy there, and they couldn't get him down, and he gets in the end zone. So that's frustrating. And I thought Tony Adams had a really tough game against the Broncos. Thankfully, bounced back and came up with a really big interception. They've done a good job at taking away the football. I think they just need to have a certain level of consistency to hit for me before I talk about them as a major positive. I think that's probably the weakest link on the defense right now. So secondary, B+, and special teams. Last but certainly not least, special teams, A+. A++++++. So good. So let's start with the kicker, Greg Zuerlein. Automatic. He is very clutch, consistent, really good find, because the Jets, pretty much ever since they let Jason Myers go to Seattle, whatever the kicker they let go to Seattle. It was a rotating cycle of names. Kerry Vedvik, Sam Ficken. They rotated through kickers. Eddie Pinheiro was brought in. It was tough. It was a really tough thing for this Jets team to find consistency there, and they find it with Greg Zuerlein. Thomas Morstead is such an upgrade over Braden Mann, and I'm sorry, I don't want to continue to beat the dead horse of Braden Mann. He's gone. He's with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's there. It's their issue now. But Thomas, it's such an obvious upgrade week over week. He does such a good job of pinning teams deep inside the 20. And one of the biggest issues with Mann was how many touchbacks he would kick, or shanks, or line drive punts. Those are gone. They've had two safeties this year, one against the Chiefs and one against Denver, both because of stellar Braden Mann punts, which pins the opponent down deep in their own territory, and they got points out of it. That's huge. When was Braden Mann stealing points? Thomas Morstead stealing this team points. It's awesome. You have Gibson as a returner, won the game in Buffalo. Justin Hardy's missed time, but he's a solid special teamer. Irv Charles, they've gotten out there making big plays on special teams. He's been active the last 2 weeks. Jets special teams and Brant Boyer just out here doing the whole thing, man. Just doing the damn thing. So those are my grades. Again, if you want to drop yours in the comments or on social media, Zach Wilson, Saleh, Hackett, Ulbrich, O-line, wide receivers and tight ends, running backs, D-line, linebackers, secondary, and special teams. Drop your grades down below. Let's get into your voicemails now. We'll get things started with Max in New Jersey. He's got his reaction to Jets-Eagles.
Hi, this is Max's voice, and here's my thoughts on the game. I think the Jets played really good on defense. We had a really good defensive performance. We made Jalen Hurts look like he spikes in the ball every play. We made Jalen Hurts look really bad. Our defense had 3 interceptions, which I thought was good. We had a couple sacks on Hurts. Offensively, though, it was completely opposite. I didn't think our offense was that good. And I understand that even though Zach Wilson's been improving, he's not that great of a quarterback, even though Zach has been improving the last couple of games. So we need to be more creative on offense, in my opinion. So I feel like our offense is kind of predictable. Either we run over the middle, which mostly we get negative yards. Even the other teams know, we're going to run over. What happens to, RPOs? We need to do more RPOs, because when we have RPOs with Hackett, when we call them, we get a ton of yards. Looking at other NFL games, we run kind of like this medieval offense. We don't do Zach Wilson. We don't do play action. I mean, it works every time with play action, because Zach Wilson has 2 touchdowns under play action. We need to have more play action. I think we're going to need to win next week, but because the Giants are terrible right now, their defense is terrible, their offense is terrible, but we should try doing play action. We need to do more RPOs. We need motion more. Because looking at other games, other teams, they have more creative offenses. Look at the lines. They have creative offense. They use a ton of trick plays. I feel like if we open up our offense more, I think we could be a serious playoff team. What's your thoughts on this, and go Jets?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate the call and the thoughts. The offense with Nathaniel Hackett and Zach Wilson is a little bit bland at times. You're not gonna, get an argument or push back out of me there. The play action works really well. I want to find the numbers from Zach Wilson on the play action. This is not including the Eagles game. I did not update. This was tweeted out before the Eagles game. But heading into week 6, Zach Wilson off the play action, 17 to 27, 62.96 completion percentage, 225 yards, 8.3 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 114.0 rating. He is very, very good off the play action. And that opens up the run game. Like, that's how you get some balance in, because then the defense is going, oh, is this going to actually be a pass? And then that's when Brees takes it and pops one off for 25 plus. And that's how you rip the big plays. So I'm with you there. Defense stellar, no complaints. And heading into the bye, so we'll get more into the Giants game coming up here, next week. But that's one that you think, if this defense is playing the way that it is, it might not matter that the Jets offense is so bad in the red zone right now. They have to improve. That's an area where they must improve. Again, no pushback from me on that one. But I hope the offense, specifically in the red zone, begins to hit their groove. And I do think that they need to continue to be aggressive in the red zone. They're close. Robert Saleh said that they're close, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they have. I think we've seen some improvement from Zach Wilson. Is it to the point where you're completely comfortable with him going forward? Not quite there yet, but he's gotten better. Let's go to Constantine from PA. What are we thinking? Any more positive this week from Constantine? What do we think? Let's get to him.
Hey, Maddie, this is Constantine from PA. Man, the only thing I love more than watching the Jets win is watching the Patriots lose. Suck it, you turds. Yeah, baby, we won the game.
But
I got to tell you, Maddie, I don't know, man. I'm like somebody who's I just don't know, I mean, how many times are we going to get in the red zone and kick field goals? I mean,
it's frustrating.
Thank God we got a kicker like Greg Zuerlein. I mean, I vote he gets a raise because that guy scores more points for us than anybody else. And that's just a fact. You can look at the numbers. But the bottom line is, I mean, I'm not gonna lay in on Zach this week. I think he played well. I think that when he's at his part of the field and just, little past it, he throws confident passes. He doesn't really hesitate much when he does. But I don't know what it is about this kid in the red zone, man. It's like we got the people that could get it in the end zone. And we're talking about when we're in the red zone, we're at, the 20-yard line? It shouldn't be considered the Bermuda Triangle because every time we go in there, it seems like we lose something. Whether it's points, a player, I don't know. But I will also say another thing, and it really pissed me off about the game. Are we not allowed to block anymore?
Dude.
Why the fuck do they call Lazard for that blindside block on the catch that Garrett Wilson had that finally would have got us in the end zone?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, man. If you're going to call the game fairly. I felt that was the unjustifiable call. And as far as our defense is concerned, what else is there to say? You hold the Eagles' offense to that many points. You give your offense times and opportunities to take a lead, and we're just not doing that. But thank God for the defense. Thank God for Quinnen Williams and his brother Quincy. I think they're both outstanding players. I'm so glad we have them. So I'm not going to be doom and gloom. We got a bye week next week. Let's just try to get our shit together as far as the red zone.
Yes.
I don't know if it's play calling in the red zone, quarterback play in the red zone, or if it's just lack of execution. But I'll take the win. We got an even record. I think we're 3-3.
Yeah, buddy.
And I'm just going to end it on a good note. Jets, Jets. Let's go.
Constantine, oh, baby. I love the positivity. After the last couple weeks, we're getting a little curmudgeon Constantine. That's what your new nickname was going to be. I'm just teasing. I appreciate you calling in, and all perspectives are welcome here. I will talk through any and all perspectives. You are 1,000% correct, though, with the red zone offense. That's a video that I focused on. I did a little bit of a deep dive on the Jets' red zone problems in a video yesterday, and I came away with a few things. One, Zach Wilson does deserve some blame in the red zone for their red zone issues. Some people online, or just in general, cannot put anything on Zach Wilson. It's everybody else's fault but Zach Wilson, and I don't think that's fair. I also don't think it's fair to just go, the whole thing is on Zach Wilson. All their problems are just him. That's also not true. There's some nuance here. It's a little bit of both. So to answer your question, he is a part of the problem. Play calling, the biggest issue I have in the play calling, and he only did it once this past week, but when you're running on 2nd and 10 in the red zone, you are putting yourself in such a garbage spot on 3rd down. I hate it. I hate it. Some of it's execution, and they also constantly shoot themselves in the foot with penalties. So many gosh darn penalties, holds, false starts, whatever. It's just that those add up, and then you're now looking at a 2nd and 20 from in the red zone, or a 3rd and 15. And then that's impossible. You're taking yourselves out of these drives. They did it against Philly. They did it against Denver. And those are really the 2 games where the red zone offense just in general this year hasn't been good. But in those 2 games in particular really stood out as being net negatives. So I think it is absolutely fair to criticize it. I don't think it's very good right now, and hopefully it's something that they can improve coming outside of the bye. But we will all sign up for 3 and 3. Jake from from Jersey is up next. Jake from Jersey.
Hey, what's up, Matt? Jake from Jersey.
What's up, dude?
What a great win that was. The defense was lights out. That was insane. I just want to talk about Zach, honestly. I was just gonna say,
Sure.
like, it's just crazy to see the progression. Like, did he have his best game? No. Definitely could get a lot better in the red zone. But, like, compared to, like, last year, you could just see, like, so much growth. Like, how he reads the field. I mean, there weren't really any passes where you were like, what are you doing? Like, it was mostly, like, I feel like he had, like, probably had 4. There was probably, 4 drops. Just got to get better in the red zone. I feel like once we figure out that red zone issue, man, it would be pretty legit. Because what were we, 1 of 4 in the red zone? Imagine we scored, we were 3 of 4 in the red zone or something. It wouldn't even really been that close of a game. So once we get that stuff figured out, but it's definitely encouraging to see this growth from Wilson. His completion percentage was relatively low, and I know his rating wasn't great, but no crazy bad throws or not dirting the ball to guys on a screen. Like, just definitely getting better, which is awesome, man. But anyway, go Jets.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for calling in. There's been tangible progress. It is a step forward. It's not, again, I don't think it's anything to victory lap over and be like, this is it. He's all the way back. He's fine. But it would be naive to just ignore that there's progress being made. He had back-to-back games before this of completion percentages over 70, which is unheard of for him. The one interception he's thrown in the last 3 weeks was a one-on-one ball that he threw to Garrett Wilson that Patrick Surtain made an unbelievable play on. Is it one that he has to put back shoulder? Yeah, he should have thrown that ball back shoulder. It wasn't a very good throw. But the reason why I didn't crush him for that interception was because I'm not going to take issue with you going for a one-on-one play with your best weapon. I'm not going to kill him for that. So interceptions and the dumb throws have gone away. The next step now is you have to start getting the ball into the end zone. He has 4 touchdown passes through 6 games. The number we got to start getting that number up a little bit. And from there, then I think that, that's the next step. We saw a little incremental progress, right? Like, the Dallas game was really the only one where turnovers went off the rails. And that was at the end of a game, right, in the 4th quarter. The Matt Milano interception was bad, but I'm not killing him over the one in Denver. The next step now is start getting these games over 200 yards. He did that once, and get the ball in the end zone. And from there, we'll see. But that's the next step for me, I think, anyway. Let's do Brian up next from Virginia. He wants to complain about the officiating, which I think is fair. Let's do it.
Hey, Matt, it's Brian from Virginia. Just calling it Monday morning. Still pretty hyped from the game yesterday, even though it was not the prettiest thing in the world. The defense was just silly. But just a couple things about the officiating, which I'm sure you're probably getting a lot of calls about that. So if you are, you can just skip this voicemail. I'm sure you don't want to answer the same question multiple times. But 2 things that stood out was the Hurts touchdown, which wasn't a touchdown. Even if it was, it was ruled turnover on downs, which if it was ruled a touchdown, they could review it. That's fine. But Sirianni didn't throw the red flag, so why did they review it at all? And I can't imagine that there was evidence to overturn it because the views that they showed us were all at angles and very tough to tell if the ball actually crossed the line. So I don't know why that play was even reviewed, other than the NFL just wants to keep an undefeated team. And the second one was the blindside block on Lazard, which
So stupid.
corner was looking at Lazard when he got hit. He got his head around, so it wasn't really blindside. Lazard just kind of got in his way. He didn't really move too much to put a shoulder into him, and it was a free play. So technically, since the other guy, the edge rusher, was offside, that play only takes place if the Jets wanted to. I don't know why the Jets should have just been able to accept the penalty at that point for the offside, or for the encroachment or whatever it would have been. And then the blindside block technically never took place. So I don't understand why they got that and it erased a great first down and put us back another 15 yards. And it doesn't make sense to me how those things work. And I don't, I haven't read all the bylaws and everything like that. I don't know. Maybe it does make sense in the way they have things written, but it doesn't make sense how those things take place. But great win, 3-3 into the bye, minus the biggest players on offense and defense, is huge. So happy for this team, so happy for the fans. Now we get to relax for 2 weeks, and then back against the Giants, which those poor guys, man, they should have beat the Bills last night too. But hope you're doing great, man. Let's all party for the next 2 weeks and go Jets.
I love it. Completely fair to bring up. I still don't know from that first review what angle did they have to show that Hurts definitely got into the end zone. I think there's a chance that he did. I think there's a chance, but we didn't see anything that showed for sure that he did. And if it is ruled on the field first that he did not get in, then how is that a touchdown? All right, whatever. Throw that one away. I had a much bigger issue with the Lazard one, because I get it. I understand player safety. I am not against player safety in any stretch of the imagination. But when you square someone up with your shoulder to their chest, how in the world could that possibly be a blindside block? Because he hit him hard? That's so stupid. It really is. And that's not the same. It's not the same that from Randall Cobb in the preseason against the Giants. That was not the same play. It was completely different. It's just... at some point, you got to be able to play football, right? Like, this is a physical game. It's a hard game. I'm not saying you allow the kill shots where guys are launching themselves into guys' helmets and the helmet to helmet or shoulder to helmet, or like, remember, I always think back, one of the scariest hits that I remember from the Jets I was young at the time. It was 13. It was 2008. Jets 49ers. Brad Smith got absolutely smoked going over the middle of the field and got folded up like an accordion. That can't happen anymore. But like that, to me, that is one where it's like, okay, obvious flag. Like, take that stuff out of the game, sure. But a shoulder to the chest on a block is a penalty. What are we doing, man? It is just so frustrating that gets called. Really is. Dante from South Carolina is up next.
Hey, Matt. Dante from South Carolina on a sunny Monday. Sunday Victory Monday. I can't talk, dude.
I know what you mean.
Love this team, dude. The defense, I saw your tweet. I don't want to hear a bad thing about this defense ever again.
Nope.
We had practice squad players shutting down an offense that went to the Super Bowl last year. An offense that got better in the offseason, and we shut them down. That's incredible. Incredible. The one bad thing that comes out of this defense, though, is that Ulbrich, I think, is earning himself a head coaching job somewhere. And I think we struck gold with him. And
he's really good.
It's to see him leave one day, because you know what's happening. Some team out there is looking for a defensive-minded head coach, and what this guy has put together with this unit is incredible. I mean, you can say, like, oh, he has all the talent in the world. Yesterday, he proved how big his balls are, man. That Saleh, the whole coaching staff yesterday, fantastic. You really can't say enough about this whole team, man. It feels good to like be excited about like the Jets again. 3-3, we want to take them with Rodgers. Wilson, I've been a Wilson truther. Sometimes I give up on him, but I always support the kid. But man, he's taken some strides, and it's noticeable. Like last year, throwing him against the Eagles would have been suicide.
Yeah, it wouldn't have gone well.
He pulled a rabbit out of his hat last night. He played really good protective football, made some really nice throws. I just like this whole team, man. MetLife turf sucks.
Yep.
Jets don't. Go Jets. Love the content. Keep it up. Bye.
Thank you, man. Yeah, how do you like Garrett Wilson after the game saying that the turf is terrible, that it's, or garbage, I believe was the actual word. Woody Johnson, spent your billions of dollars on a functioning field. How about that? The players want a grass field. I understand that AVT got hurt on grass this year, and I understand that last year he and Breece Hall went down on grass. Like, it doesn't fully prevent injury. Grass will never fully prevent injuries. But if studies show that it's safer and it's what your players want, and you are losing people every single freaking time you play on that field. Rodgers, Tippmann potentially. Luckily, you escaped Garrett. But, guys are having to leave in all these games. And not just on the Jets. It happens. Remember a couple of years ago, like, weren't there multiple injuries on Jets 49ers in 2020? The year, the Jets, the terrible 2-14 year. That was week 2 that year? And there were multiple injuries in that game on that turf. And there's even a new turf since then, but it still stinks. Yeah, man, the defense is really special. And on a thought on Ulbrich, while I would be sad to see him go, I just gave him an A. He's a really good, really, really good defensive coordinator. I think Tony Oden is ready to take that next step and be a DC. I think what he's done with this cornerback room is really, really special. I think he is ready for that promotion to go from positional coach to defensive coordinator. So and I'll even say when Jeff Ulbrich leaves to become a head coach, I think Tony Oden should get the job. I think he can do it well. Hopefully as well as Jeff Ulbrich. You're right, it is going to be a big loss to see him go, and I'll be bummed out about that, but I think the Jets might have someone else that they can plug in there. How about little Devin from Nevada, little Eagles reaction? Let's do it.
Mr. Matt O'Leary, my boy. Man, feels great to call you on another Victory Monday here today.
Love it.
What's up, brother? Devin from Nevada calling in. So a couple things, man, I just want to talk about from yesterday's awesome win against the Eagles. So a few years ago, man, I can't remember when it was. Can't remember if it was a regular season or a preseason game, but tell me if you remember this, okay? So we were playing the Eagles, and our captains, beginning of the game, went out to the 50-yard line. The Eagles captains at the beginning of the game went to the 50-yard line. Coin toss, before that, our players stuck out their hands to shake hands, and the Eagles did not shake our hands. Now, the Eagles and the Jets really have no beef, no rivalry like that.
Kind of do.
It was just a lack of respect, They just looked at us as jokes, and so much so to the point where they wouldn't even shake our hands. So for that, have yourself a fat slice of humble pie there for everybody in Philadelphia. Hope that tastes awful. Enjoy that. Let's see. Next, man, Tony Oden.
Yes.
Man,
see?
that dude's a stud.
What did we say?
Huge shout out to Tony Oden and Jeff Ulbrich. I'm pretty sure that Oden comes from Cincinnati, and then so that's also why Sauce Gardner and him have such a great relationship. But man, for Oden to have those backup cornerbacks ready to play, huge testament to our coaching staff and their preparation, and awesome game out of Bryce Hall and Craig James. I think his name. I honestly can't even remember his name, but awesome game by those two. So much grit and determination and no quit in this Jets team, man. Definitely Salah's biggest win. Yeah, man, that was a beautiful game. Super fun to watch. All week, just some Eagles friends and, that I have just tagging me and things like, oh, Jets have never beat the Eagles, this, that, man. So, and again, like I said, Jets and Eagles really never had any beef. So it's beautiful to just, stick up for ourselves. And, this team has gained a lot of respect around the league. So I'm excited that we're winning games because this just ensures that Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, Brees Hall, our studs, man, they're going to be here hopefully for the foreseeable future. And then, we can get a quarterback and stuff in 2024 and figure things out. But, this is a huge game for our respect, our self-confidence, and, just letting the league know that, like, hey, when you face us, like, you're going to get in a dogfight. Nobody wants to play the Jets. And, it's fun being the underdog, man. Love it. So, love the show. Love what you do, brother. Keep it up,
Thank
man.
you.
Go Jets, dog. What a great
Let's go.
win, dude. I'm so proud of us, man. Good game. Let's get it.
I love it. Thank you so much, as always, for calling in, my friend. Much appreciated. The Jets and Eagles do have some beef, which that's kind of what I wanted to go back to in this call. One, I did not know about that from the not shaking the hands, but if you remember when these two teams played each other in 2021, the Eagles were laughing at the Jets. They did not respect the Jets, and C.J. Mosley took that very, very personally after that game and throughout the week leading up to this game. And for whatever reason, the Eagles made the Robert Saleh's comments about giving Jalen Hurts 11 kisses, like that was so blown up to the point where that was bulletin board material, which is just crazy to me. But anyway, it's very clear that they did not respect the Jets and they were not prepared. Trap game. They got trapped. And hopefully, look, I'm rooting for them this week. They got Miami. I hope they kick the crap out of the Dolphins. The Jets need that. We're going to be fighting for a playoff spot this year, baby. I need to see the NFC teams beat up on the AFC teams. Things you love to see. What is it? F around and find out. That's what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles this week. They effed around and found out pretty hard what happens there. But man, that defense is special. And you're so right with Tony Oden. He got this team and Ulbrich, the two of them. I think Ulbrich's going to get hired. And I think Tony Oden's going to be the guy who steps in. Derek from Montana's got some quick words.
Derek in Montana. No question. Just calling to say Jets. Been a Jets fan since 1965. The Eagles win. It was awesome. Go Jets.
Derek, I appreciate you, man. I got to get out to Montana one of these days. I want to see it out there. I love it. I just called in to say Jets. Well, thank you for checking in, Derek. Let's go to Main Jet.
Hi, Matt. This is Main Jet calling. And while I was watching the game from Maine, obviously, and it was an excellent game. Despite the fact that the offense really didn't do all that well on Sunday, I really thought that they played their best game overall. Beating the Eagles and being down all the players that they were doing, it was pretty much inexplicable from my eyes because I really thought that they were going to lose this one and really take it on the chin in a big way. So, it's exciting. We're coming out of the bye. We'll be going into the bye 3-3. And my question is this. What do you think lies ahead for the next last 11 games that the Jets play? I see it as their hardest games are the two against Miami and the Buffalo away game. San Diego's going to be tough.
Yep.
Browns are going to be tough. Browns have number one defense right now.
They're elite on defense.
I don't see anything here besides away at Miami, which I absolutely cannot see them winning, and away at Buffalo, which I absolutely cannot see them winning. I do not see anything worse than 9-2 to finish out the season, and that means they finish at 12-5. Now, my question is, do they win the division? Is that good enough to win the division? Do you think they'll be 12-5? I'm thinking the New England game probably wouldn't even matter. So there's a good possibility that even if they lost that and went like 11-6, that it doesn't really even matter because they've already solidified their playoff spot. But anyway, love to hear what you think about that over the last 11 because now the schedule gets a lot easier. Talk to you later, and always go Jets.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I would kill for a 12-win season. I don't think the Jets are going to go 9-2. I hope they do. That'd be sick. If they go 9-2, I'm going to remember Main Jet's call and say that he called it. I think, okay, games that I think the Jets probably lose. As you said, Miami on the road and Buffalo on the road. I think Cleveland on the road against that defense on a short week is a tough matchup. I thought I listed that one as a potential trap game for the Jets in my season predictions before the season. I said I think they'd go 11-6 with Rodgers. I think that one. I think that's a tougher game than some people are thinking. Can they win it? Sure, they could win any game that they play. I think, but that doesn't mean that they're going to. And I think they lose one more that they shouldn't. And maybe it's Miami at home, which I want to beat Miami. I want to split with Miami. I think they can split with Miami, but there's no shame in losing to that offensive juggernaut. But like I don't know. There's teams every single year. There's games you win that you're not supposed to and lose that you're not supposed to. So maybe it's Vegas on the road on Sunday Night Football. I hope not. I want to beat Vegas. Or maybe it's Houston's a little bit tougher than people thought they would be. Atlanta could be scrappy at times. Like, I don't know. I think 10-7 is what I am hoping for. A realistic goal. And again, I hope 12-5. I hope they hit 12-5. I hope they go 9-2 down the stretch. But I'll say 10-7 is my goal for the New York Jets to get to. And I think they can do it. Because I thought if they went into the bye at 2-4, I thought there was a path to go 9-8. And now you got that extra win, so I'll say there's a path to go 10-7. Let's close out with PG from Long Island. Let's do it.
Hello, Matt. PG from Long Island. Let's go Jets. Amazing win, obviously. Couple things. One, a couple weeks ago I called and I said that besides Zach Williams, you have to worry about the coaching. Well, coaching seems to be improved a lot, especially on the defensive side. What a job they did. But here's my question, my thought. Bryce Hall, tremendous 2 games in a row. He might not see the field for another year when these other cornerbacks come back. So my question is he trade bait? He's put 2 great games of tape on, games on tape, and maybe, some of these other cornerbacks, backup cornerbacks we've barely even heard of, look very good. So maybe, you do him a favor, you trade him to a team that needs a cornerback, and he gets to play, and we get some good trade value back. Anyway, that's my thought. Go Jets. Great win, 3-3 at the bye. Would have taken that with Aaron Rodgers as quarterback. So, looking good. Go Jets. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. I understand where you're coming from, and if you asked me this question in August, I think I probably would have said there's a better chance of him not being here over the summer than at this point. I think where you are now, injuries happen all the time, and I get what you're saying. You have guys like Craig James come in and play really well, and Tay Hayes and all these guys, and I understand. I don't think they are going to do it now. I think if they were going to move off of Hall, it would have been an off-season thing. I thought it was something that they could have done. He struggled last preseason. He struggled this preseason. It just felt like he was kind of falling out of favor. But this is the last year of his deal on his rookie contract. I think they'd want to keep him for depth. He's relatively cheap depth at this point, and he's effective, and he has starting experience. So I totally get where you're coming from on it. I think, I think you're on the right track. I just it wouldn't be something that I would think Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh would do. I don't think they're going to be in a spot where they're trading away depth. Now, maybe a vet like Hardman, who they're not using, or Lawson, not that anyone I think is taking Carl Lawson, or Dalvin, one of those 3 guys I think are more likely to move than Bryce Hall, which if you asked me that before the season, I would have said that's not going to be the case, but that's the NFL. It's a weird world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe to the pod wherever you get it. If it's on YouTube, thank you. Give a like. If it's in audio form, please make sure to subscribe, give a rating and review. It really helps me out a lot. I appreciate all the love and support from you guys. It means the world to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.